Howdy folks, welcome to the Daily Coin. My name is Rory and today is Tuesday, July the 26th, 2016, and I'm very excited to have two guests on today, and these are new guests, and as you all know, longtime followers of the Daily Coin know that I've been interviewing a lot of junior mining executives over the past 2 or 3 months. And the gentlemen that I have on today have a very unique property, and that is Coronet Metals. And their stock symbol is on the Toronto Ventures Exchange is CRF, and in the US on the over-the-counter market is CORMF. And I have on the line with great pleasure, I'd like to introduce the CEO, Mr. Theo van der Linde, and Mr. Joel DeMaresq, who is a former director, and he is the principal shareholder. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Good morning, Rory.
Thanks, Rory. This is Joel here speaking, and thanks for the opportunity to speak with you today.
Well, I'm certainly glad to have you here. You guys have two different projects that you're working on, and it's under the one umbrella of the Coronet Metals. And both of these projects have very unique property or values to them that I've not heard from anyone else. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. But I wanted to ask you, Joel, about all the noise that's going on here in the United States around the political scene right now. And what do you see happening outside looking in, kind of, because I know you travel a lot and I believe you're based out of Canada. So what do you see happening right now with the whole political scene going on here?
Well, there's a hot button question, Rory. You're correct. I am a Canadian, and Theo is from South Africa originally, and got involved in the mining business and migrated his way up to Canada. So we're both looking at it from the perspective of Canadians from afar. But I think, like many of our dear American friends, we've been looking at the whole process with wonderment and amazement, particularly with the Republican nominee and his ascendancy from really from nowhere. We certainly didn't expect that here in Canada. And as you would well know, Rory, the gold reacts very, very positively to uncertainty and concern and to worry. And a lot of what has been happening, whether good or bad, has led to the heightened level of uncertainty, particularly in the world outside of America, where it's less under the process is less understood, and where the world is desperate for a degree of normalcy and stability is probably the best way of putting it. And then you introduce a process like we've had with the American election and some of the uncertainty surrounding that, and the uncertainty as to the statements and actions of some of the candidates. So without wading into that politically fraught world, what I would say is that it certainly is very, very positive for the world that Theo and I live in, and gold. We've seen gold already marching up that we would attribute a significant percentage of the recent increase in gold from the $1,000 or $1,100 level up to the $1,400 level to the I guess instability that's been created by the process, or uncertainty that's been created by the American political process. And just a personal note on that to conclude with is that I've got all the confidence in the world in America, and that America will make the choice that's right for them, and that whoever the choice for president becomes later this year, that it will be in the best interest of the United States.
Do you see either of the top two candidates, the ones that have now been nominated, do you see either one being more positive for gold or better for gold? I mean, you don't have to give
Well,
any
again,
names at all. You don't have to. You don't have to name any. You can just, I'm
no,
not
I don't. I don't have a big issue with naming the person that I think is probably more positive for gold, as long as you don't hold me accountable for it down the line. But I would say certainly Mr. Trump would be more favorable for gold, not necessarily because he's going to do anything unexpected, but just because of the uncertainty surrounding his positions on issues and the level of uncertainty that creates around the world with other countries and with other leaders as to how he will react. I think that creates a high degree of uncertainty, and anytime you get uncertainty, you're going to see an increase in the level of gold. People rush to gold whenever they see that, and whenever they lose confidence in monetary policy. On the other hand, I could be dead wrong. The Democrats, based on many of their pledges and promises, could come in and significantly inflate financial markets and flood the markets with liquidity in terms of printing money, which also would be good for gold. So the way Theo and I look at it, the way many of us look at it from outside the U.S., either choice could be quite positive or extremely positive for gold, regardless of which direction it takes.
Well, I would agree with your assessment that either would actually be positive for gold. I think Trump would probably be a little more positive for gold because he's a friend of gold, actually, in that he signed a lease with one of the bullion dealers a few years ago, a 30-year lease, and the down payment was made in gold, and he accepted gold. And at that time, he expressed his concern over the dollar. So I that's just my personal, just based on his actions, actually, his actions and his words. And I want to kind of shift gears and bring Coronet Metals into the picture. And Mr. Vanderlyn, I'd like to address this question to you. And you are a very, very busy man. And as Joel said, you're originally from South Africa and now residing in Canada. And you've had projects all over the world in multiple locations in Africa and Peru, the United Kingdom, Sri Lanka, and now the United States. And Coronet's Whitecaps Gold Projects is near the town of Manhattan in northern Nye County, Nevada, only 13 miles south of the Kinross multi-million gold ounces Round Mountain gold mine. And what is the next step for Coronet Metals to be able to take advantage of this mineral-rich geography? And if you would, tell us a little bit about this 300,000 tons of tailings that you have.
Rory, the next step for Coronet on our Whitecaps project is basically we have been busy for the last several years, conducting several different type of tests on the tailings to determine what the best way of recovery will be. And right now, as we speak, we are busy with a final set of tests that will basically give us the answer as to how we're going to recover the gold that's sitting in those tails. Based on all the work that has been done to date, we're confident in the grade that is in those tails. We basically know from past survey results how much material is sitting there, and we can, with a high degree of confidence, say that there is significant ounces sitting in those tails. So the next steps are just to conduct the final hydrometallurgy tests to reveal what the recoveries could be on that, and then we're going to start a modest program to complete the let's call it the resource on the tails. And once we have that done, we'll probably start, a modest work program and, figure out the next ways to start mining those tailings.
And those tailings, that's like I'm just envisioning these big piles, gigantic piles of previously processed crushed stone and dirt, and it's got all of this gold mixed into it. And with it being sitting there since the 1950s for somewhere around 60 years, 60 plus years, that the technology has improved during that time, so that all the gold that was left behind, you guys are now going to go in and be able to recover quite a bit of gold, is the understanding that I have. Is that about right?
Maybe I can jump in there,
Sure,
Theo,
come
just
on,
to pick
Joel.
up on. Yeah, thank you, Rory. Just to pick up on a theme that Theo dropped. What the way we view Whitecaps is that there's really three elements to the story. There's the redevelopment of the tailings, and there's about 300,000 ounces of tailings, Rory, that sit right on the surface, ready and waiting for us to develop them. The initial metallurgy work that Theo was referring to that we're really excited about indicates that there are around 25 or 30,000 ounces of gold contained within those tailings, although we have to be careful about that because we have not finished that metallurgical work, and it's not up to the standard that we require in Canada called 43101. So we're working to complete a 43101 report on that. Once we have that report released, we'll talk a lot more about the potential value of that. But really what's exciting about it is the fact that it sits on surface. There's almost very, very little cost to process those tailings. We don't have to go back in and mine it. We just have to do some very, very basic processing to develop those tails. And sitting beside the tailings pile, we're fortunate that there is a mill that was built back in the 1980s that needs some refurbished work. We are right now re-permitting the mill and working towards getting that mill, which is about a 250 ton per day mill, back online so that it can begin processing those tails. So that's the first phase of the project. The second phase of the project is that there is a historical mine sitting on the Whitecaps property that also belongs to Coronet. And the last that mine was in production was back in the 1950s. And at the time that it was closed down due to some health and safety concerns, the indications from the old geological reports were that there may be as much as 1 million ounces of gold still remaining within that mine. So we've been very careful in terms of our announcements and discussions while we wait to re-drill back into the base of that mine. But we're very confident that the drilling that we plan to do in the next 12 months will reaffirm the expectations that were there back in the 1950s. So that's the second phase. And the third phase is that, as you mentioned, Rory, Whitecap sits right south of the Round Mountain project that belongs to Kinross, and which is a massive gold mine, one of the largest in Nevada. And our property butts right up against Round Mountain. And Round Mountain has been in discussions with us over the past few years with respect to a potential joint venture to come back in and work alongside us, not only to potentially redevelop the old Whitecaps mine, but also to further explore our property up to the north, because as you pointed out, it hasn't been explored for almost 50 years. And it's a very, very, very rich gold area. So that's really what we're excited about, is that we see the processing of the tails as a source of cash flow that will allow us to re-drill the historic mine. Once we re-drill the historic mine and we have the results of that, we intend to re-engage with Kinross with the idea towards working towards a joint venture. And then if we are ultimately successful in redeveloping the underground mine at Whitecaps, what we would then be able to do is to process the Whitecaps production through the the facilities that exist at Round Mountain. So it would short track us to production because we wouldn't have to go out and build a mill ourselves. We would just be able to third party mill it. So that's really what we're excited about here at Coronet.
So you've cut cost, and now we'll be conservative and say you've got 20,000 ounces of gold that is going to be very, very low cost to recover, and that's going to create your cash flow to be able to get into this mine that was producing quite a bit of gold and hasn't, and then just stopped abruptly, and now you're going to be able to see exactly what you have in there. I mean, it's really cool what's going on with this property, in particular with the tailings. I mean, I look at it and go, wow, that sounds like free gold to me, you know, or it's going to be very inexpensive to recover. Like I said, that's got to be exciting for you guys.
Very, very exciting for us.
And I want to look at your other property that you have going on and Mr. Vanderlinde, I know that you are actually in North Carolina today, and that's where you actually have another project going on that is going to be low cost and high yield as well. I'm sure that a lot of you out in the audience are going, North Carolina. It's like, and I found out yesterday through Joel and Theo that North Carolina was actually the state that gold was first discovered in America. So it's pretty interesting. And gentlemen, if you would just tell us about what Coronet Metals has going on in North Carolina.
North Carolina is very much in line with Coronet's strategy, acquiring very good cash flow producing properties with full little. And by that I mean is we acquire good properties and without using equity, without diluting Coronet, and we eventually pay the property out, or the cost of the property out of future cash flows. So essentially, when we came across this property, it met all the criteria of our strategy. It's a great property. All the due diligence that we've conducted so far shows that there's a lot of free gold. We got the property on favorable terms. We're just conducting the final pieces of due diligence. The property is ripe for a work program that can start essentially any time. It's fully permitted. It's on free land, so there's no permitting issues whatsoever. And we're excited. So we should be conducting, or we should complete the due diligence here in the coming weeks. And please watch for the next steps. But once we're done with our due diligence, we'll conclude on the transaction, and we'll get right to work.
And if I remember correctly, you guys were going to be somewhere in the next 90 to 120 days as far as being able to make these next steps, because you don't have the permitting issues. You don't have the government breathing down your neck as far as you got to do this or do that, and most of the equipment and everything is already in place. Is that right?
First of all, let me just say that, Roy, as you can tell, Theo is very, very modest, and I commend Theo on the team that he's put together that are down in North Carolina with him right now doing the due diligence. He's got some of the best mining minds and the most experienced people from around the world that are working as part of his team, and that's one of the big reasons that I've been one of the big financial backers of Coronet and a big fan of Theo and his team. But what Theo points out is really important to understand, which is that as compared to a lot of mining companies that go out and acquire properties and offer up millions and millions of shares to acquire those properties, what Theo has been doing is he has been effectively using the cash flows of the projects that he's been acquiring to finance the project. So rather than doing it off the backs of the shareholders of Coronet, he has been doing it effectively on the backs of the people that own the original projects, so that we have a level of confidence by them saying they'll sit by and wait to get paid out of the cash flows that develop as we put money and expertise into the project, Coronet that is. By virtue of doing that, what it does is it allows our shareholders to get the full impact without much, if any, share dilution. So that's part of the strategy that we really are enthusiastic about. And then, as you really point out quite succinctly, the real advantage here with this project in North Carolina is that it's on private land. So a lot of the requirements that you would typically have, state requirements and so on, can be short-tracked by virtue of not having to have a whole long list of permits. You still obviously have to respect environmental standards, and at Coronet we most certainly do. We go to the highest environmental standard, not the lowest. But that said, it's just a lot less bureaucratic process when you're dealing with private land, and that's what we are really excited about. Is that we think that we can get this property into production and increase that production within a matter of weeks, if not months. And we've got both the financial resources and the expertise to do that. So we're down there, we're completing the due diligence. Hopefully that all proves out. So far, everything has been as advertised, and we're excited about getting control of the property here in the next few days and being able to almost immediately begin our work program and start processing and making gold.
We like making gold. Gold is a good thing to make. And it's really cool. I mean, because like I said, you guys have these two very unique properties. You have two unique situations. The one in North Carolina that you just described as being, more streamlined than most other projects that are out there because it is on private land and a lot of the infrastructure is already in place. And then the tailings and the relationship that you have with Kinross at the Whitecaps Gold Project in Nevada. So you guys are, I like it a lot. I mean, it really seems like Coronet Metals is in really a good position at this point. And I'm very excited for you guys. And more gold is good in my opinion. And we've been speaking with Mr. Theo Vanderlinde, who is the CEO, and Joel DeMaresq, who is a former director and is current principal shareholder, both with Coronet Metals, and they are traded on the Toronto Ventures Exchange under the symbol CRF, and in the U.S. on the over-the-counter market under the symbol CORMF. And you can find out a lot more about them. Contact them, send them your questions through coronetmetals.com. Gentlemen, I certainly appreciate all your time this morning, and I look forward to speaking with you when everything gets up and running. And
I appreciate your time, Rory, on you on my behalf. And yes, stay tuned for news. There'll be plenty of news coming out of Coronet in the next several weeks and ensuing months. And we look forward to speaking with you again in the future.
Thank you so much, Rory.
Well, thank you. And gentlemen, y'all have a good morning, and we'll speak with you soon.